There's going to be something said here that's going to change your life forever. So it took me eight months to get to my first deal. Once you crack the code, once you hit that first deal, it does get easier, but you reach this skill level that you just get so good with people. And that's really the number one skill that agents need to work on. There's the, loyal for life fans. The next group are the ones who might use you this deal, they might not use you on the next one. And the biggest group in your database are the people who will never use you. Your job is just to build that database as large as you can get it so that that smallest group is actually really big.
Today, our special guest is Ricky Carruth. He is a real estate broker, coach, investor, father, and husband. You're big on the power of visualization. Tell us a little bit about that, about what we can create in our mind.
Well, you have to be able to visualize it, or it's just not really going to come to fruition. That's why you see these agents, they'll make $200,000 a year every single year. What's the problem? Number one. Number two, right? And then from there, but look at what you're doing every day. You're making calls, you're building relationships. I said, it's going to happen. You just got to keep plugging.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Real View podcast. I am your host, Allison Wiley. Joining me today, our special guest is Ricky Carruth. He is a real estate broker, coach, investor, father, and husband. Ricky, welcome onto the show. We're so excited to have you.
I'm excited too. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, and we are going to be diving into the topic of leveling up our careers, right? Ricky has a really great method he's going to share with us on how to make sure we're doing the right things that we need to do, both in our business and within ourselves, to really take our career to the next level, and how to make it a little bit easier on ourselves in the process. But before we get started on that, Ricky, I would like to hear a little bit more about you. Could you share with us a little bit about how you got started in real estate and what's led you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody listening, there's going to be something said here that's going to change your life forever. So definitely sit back and take some notes and, watch it to the end. But I got it started in 2002 and I was 20 years old. So I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I went to 4 different colleges in 2 years and decided to try to become an agent because it was only one class. So it's really the barrier of entry is just so low. And thank God for that, because if it wasn't, I would not be here. And so I got in, and it was like for everyone else, really, really tough. It took me eight months to get to my first deal. But once you crack the code, once you hit that first deal, it takes a long time to get there. But it does get easier. It doesn't get dramatically easier. It's a slow process, but it does get easier as you go. And it's kind of the same methodologies with your career. Each year gets a little easier. And when you look back over a 10-year period, and things are just like, you go to listing appointments and they just happen. You just get the listing. Like it's hard to explain exactly how you got the listing, but you reach this skill level that you just get so good with people. And that's really the number one skill that agents need to work on is their people skills, their communication skills, their connecting skills. You guys should be reading every book you can get your hands on when it comes to, building relationships and communication and talking to people and making friends, etc. Because that's the number one skill. At the end of the deal, if you ask a buyer or seller how they pick their agent, the most common answer is, I had a friend in the business. And when I realized that that was the entire decision making process for buyers and sellers when they pick their agent is the one they liked the most, then it was kind of a wrap for me. It was game over. I just focused and went all in on just trying to be people's friends. I just felt like that was the number one component. And listen, that there's a lot of coaching programs, and there's not one that's of one size fits all. But the way that I help agents understand how to build this business, that's how I do it. I can only teach agents how I built the business. I can't teach you a different way. I can only teach you the way I built the business. So in 2002, I made that first sale, and then I started selling 2 a month, and it started to ramp up. And then I got really hot. I made $1 million really quickly by the time I'm like 23. And then the market crashes, and I lose everything, go bankrupt. And I was actually living in a car that one of my friends gave me. It was a beat up Ford Taurus, and like it was beat up. I had to ride the brakes when I passed cops at night because the tail lights didn't work. I had a boombox in the back. I had to get in through the passenger door, the whole 9 yards. And
Oh,
I slept in that car many nights, and I went back to roofing houses, and I worked on an oil rig for a while, and I served tables, and then in 2000, that was in 2005 to 2008. 2008 was the year I came back, and I learned all the lessons, like closings happen every day. See, agents think that their business is correlated to the market. It's not. Deals continue to happen even in the worst of markets. I mean, 2008 is I mean, in our lifetime so far, that's as bad as it gets.
I was gonna say it doesn't get much worse,
No, and the
right?
crazy thing is that last year was worse than 2008 in terms of number of transactions. Prices didn't crash, but it was worse in terms of the number of transactions, which is really crazy to think about where we are
Yeah.
right now in the market cycle, and the fact that, hey, like if you're listening to this and you're still in the game, you're still closing deals, congratulations. You literally made it through, the worst market we've seen when it comes to the number of transactions. And it only goes up from here. So when I came back in the business, I realized all these things, that it was relationships, and that the market doesn't matter, and competition doesn't exist, and all these things. And I started to build my business on the right principles and the right methodologies. And I didn't try to close people. I just tried to help them. I tried to understand what it is they were trying to do, why they were trying to do it, and help them put together a plan to help them accomplish their goals for their reasons, not my reasons. And through that, you not only do you get the deal, but you build these really strong relationships and bonds with your clients that last forever. And these people come back to you. They refer everyone in the world to you. I say it like this: there's three sectors of your database. There's the loyal for life fans that will never use another agent ever again in their life, which is the smallest group in your database. The next group are the ones who might use you this deal, they might not use you on the next one. They're just like, whatever agent comes my way at the right time. I'm not loyal to any one agent. I will use you. I use another agent on this deal, and I'll come back to you. That's the next size group. And the biggest group in your database are the people who will never use you. They will just never use you. And that's okay. Like, it takes all three sectors of the database to build a massive business. And you never know when people are in that never use you, that they don't move down into the wishy-washy people, or move, people in the wishy-washy group, transition because they realize you are who you are, and they connect with you the deepest, and they decide, what, I tried Bobby a couple times, but I really love Susan, so I'm never using another agent ever again. So they can switch between the three sectors, but your smallest is the loyal, the next size is the wishy-washy, and the biggest one are the people that will never use you. And it's okay. You just have to be okay with all those people that aren't going to use you as an agent. Your job is just to build that database as large as you can get it, so that that smallest group is actually really big. It might be the smallest one in your database, but it's massive in its size. But that was the whole premise. Is if I could come back in 2008, and my goal was to make 5 new friends of property owners every single day. If I could talk to a property owner I've never talked to, if I could connect with them in some way, if I could collect their information and send a weekly email on the same day of the week forever, I knew that in 5 years, if I did that, I would have 6,000 property owners I had talked to that are getting my weekly email. And I knew that if I did that, I'd be the number one agent in my market. So from 2008 to 2013, that was 5 years. I wasn't the number one agent yet, but in 2014, I was. I was the number one agent in my entire MLS in 2014, and for the next 7 years, so 8 years in a row. And I'm telling you, it all came from the fact that I had this vision that if I could make 5 new friends or property owners every day for 5 years, I would have 6,000 owners that own the exact property I want to sell, not random buyer leads and random leads from social or Zillow or open houses. I picked out exactly who these people are. These are the highest quality prospects that already own the properties I want to sell. if I could build my database up to 6,000 people who saw how dependable, consistent, hardworking, and knowledgeable I was through my email, I knew that I would be the number one agent in my market if I did that. And anybody can do this. You just have to have the vision and add the hard work and patience over the 5 years to get there. And like my theory was 5 years, and I didn't hit it, but I hit it in six. It's crazy how it worked out exactly the way that I envisioned the whole thing.
And but you're big on that, right? And I want to get more into the prospecting in a minute and growing our database so that it kind of helps us become automatic and really helps us take so much of the day-to-day burden away. But you're big on the power of visualization and decision making. And you said, this turned out exactly how I saw it. Talk to us a little bit about that, about how what we can create in our mind really serves as the perfect way to set us up for what we want to do in our business.
Well, you have to be able to visualize it, or it's just not really going to come to fruition. Because if you can't visualize it in the first place, and then you can't add the steps in between where you are now and hitting the goal, if you can't see it play out, then a lot of people can't do it. They can't just wing it all the way to $1 million a year. Um, so it like there's a lot of great books, like The Slight Edge is a great book when it comes to your efforts compounding over time. It's like when you do the weekly email and you're like, I was doing 5 property owners a day. Well, like year one, my database grew by 1,200 people. Year two, I put the same amount of work in, 5 a day, same amount of work, but my database is twice the size now. Year three, same amount of work, but my database is 3 times the size it was year one, right? And then year four, and then year five, it's 5 times bigger than it was year one, but I'm putting in the same amount of work. So if you can understand how to compound your efforts into building a business that grows without any additional effort, that's the key. So nobody teaches agents this when they come into the business, right? They teach them how to like, not break the law, and then when they do, when the industry decides, okay, now we're going to teach this agent because they actually passed their tests how to get listings. It's very robotic and cold. Call owners and see if they want to sell or whatever. Nobody ever really tries to tell you or teach you how to build relationships and then use those relationships and compound those relationships into a massive career. See, I want
Mm-hmm.
agents to build a massive career. 2025 is going to be great, but I don't want to get into this routine as an agent where I have to put in the same amount of work for the same amount of results every year. That's why you see these agents that they'll make 200,000 a year every single year, and they're like, I don't know why I can't make it to 400, 500, a million or whatever, and they keep putting in the same amount of work and they keep making the same amount of commissions every single year. And you have to wonder what's the problem. And there's really two different possible problems, scenarios there. One is that they're great at closing, but they're horrible at staying in touch with people. So they never really develop the relation. They don't really build the relation. They do a deal and then they never talk to them again. They just go and do the next deal and then the next deal, next deal. So they're just on this like they have to be literally a salesperson till the day they die, or they're great at relationship building, but they do nothing to try to grow the database. They're just sitting on a stagnant number in their database, and they never try to grow that. The size of your database is going to dictate the level of your income. So if you stop building your database, your income will stop right wherever it was when you stop building your database. You build your database up to where you're making 200 a year, and then you stop prospecting, or you stop lead gen, or you stop running ads or buying Zillow. Whatever you do to get leads, you stop doing it. And you're great at continuing the relationship with the people you got, but you quit building it. Yeah, you're going to make 200 a year from here on out, but you can use that to your advantage. Because if you build that up to the point where you're making 500,000 or even a million or more, you can continue prospecting or lead genning up to the point where you're making the amount of money you want to make. Then you can quit prospecting and you'll keep making that much money every year after that. That's what happened to me. In 2017, so I did 100 deals in 14. That was the first year I was number one in the state and MLS and everything. And then and then I did 100 deals for 8 years in a row. And 17, that was the first year I made $1 million. Well, in 17, that was the year that I quit prospecting completely. And I didn't prospect another day in my life. I lived off the weekly email. And in 17, I made the million. I quit prospecting. Well, 18, I made a million. 19, 20, 21. I did it for 5 years in a row with no prospecting. So when I say these things, the way that I teach is that I teach based on how my career went and what I did to build my business. And I just share all that I can with the industry. And I share it for free. And it's not theory. And so many agents have taken this and used this exact formula and built their business up to the level that they want to. And it works every single time. Um, so, what was the question?
No, we covered,
I
no,
weaved
we
and
covered
then I
a
couldn't wove
lot.
like
No, we were talking about visualization, decision
visualization. Yeah.
making.
So like when you have to be able to compound your efforts over time to compound the business. Otherwise, you're just kind of stay stagnant. So I'll give you another example of visualization. When I got back in the business, there was a lot of foreclosures. And I wanted to be a foreclosure agent because everybody was envious of these foreclosure agents. They were raking in like 40 grand a month, and like we're like, we're broke. And the banks were just giving them listings, like 10 listings a month or something. It was insane. And after a couple months of me trying to go down that road and like learn the process and apply with banks and try to do BPOs and all that stuff, I was like, this ain't even. And they already had their agents picked out anyway. They weren't about to like give another agent a chance unless you were really, gung ho doing like 50 BPOs a month or something. So I said, I took a step back. I looked at the whole industry, my local market, and I was like, bingo, I got it. And what I visualized was that, okay, because like when you call these foreclosure agents at that time, guess what they did? Not answer. Like they would not. I could never get one on the phone because you submitted everything through online to the bank and like they didn't have to answer the phone. They didn't care. So I said, you know what? They're not building relationships. They're not building a business. They're an order taker for the bank. And when these foreclosures go away, they're going to go away. I said, but the agents that are going to be left standing are the agents who actually sold the foreclosures and represented the buyer who they still have a relationship with. And that buyer will now be a seller and sell that property, upgrade to another property, and refer four friends to that agent. I said, that's the agent I want to be over the next couple of years. I've got all the foreclosure listings that are right now. I've got them at higher prices later as the listing agent, and I'm helping that seller who bought from me years before as a foreclosure buy their next property and also help all their families and friends. So I visualized that moment that in the next 3 or 4 years, foreclosures will be gone, prices will be higher, and guess what? I have all the sellers in my pocket now that own properties cheaper than what they're going for now. So that's just another example of a visualization moment for me. And I went all in. And that was in 2008. And I went all in. And that's exactly what agents should be doing for the last year and right now. They should be all in while the market is slower because when the market re-expands, it literally can 4 or 5x your business. When the market declines and fluctuates down like it did over the past couple of years, it can only really hurt your business 50% at the most, right? Most of the time it's 10, 20, 30% if it's a really bad downswing. This was a really bad one. So I know agents that are down pretty good. I know agents that are crushing it harder. Like I know agents that had better years in
Mhm,
2024 than they had 23. But
mhm.
so a market can bring you down like, 10, 20, 30%, whatever, but it can't take you out if you understand what I'm saying. But it can 4, 5x your business when it re-expands, and it re-expands. Guess when? 110% of the time. It like it every single time it comes back with a vengeance, and that's exactly what we're going to see over the next 2 to 4 years. Is we're going to see the market come back. This year is going to be a little bit better than last year. The next year is going to be a little bit better than that year. It's going to be a slow increase back to normalcy, but you know that slow increase is also going to be expanding your business by leaps and bounds if you're out there planting seeds.
Yeah, exactly. I always love when I talk to realtors and they say, "No, I do better when the market's bad." I think that's like the key, and when you have people who are like, "No, this is when I shine. I have what I need to really get through these tough times. When it's good, it's great, right? That's the easy part. But when you're thriving during those hard times, I think that's awesome. And you talk so much about the importance of relationships and building those. And I'm just thinking, we're in this world now of post NAR settlements and, buyer representation agreements and making sure, we are talking to our clients about who we are and what we bring to the table. Would you say that's kind of your number one thing that can make you as an agent stand out, is having those strong relationships? And what's your best bits of advice for growing those relationships, starting out those relationships? I know you gave that great example of, hey, I'm going to talk to these 5 people a day. How do you manage those relationships, and how do you make that a key part of your strategy if you're an agent?
So I think to you said to create and build those relationships. I think a really great piece of advice is that when we're reaching out to, say, property owners, that's the way I like to do, because I mean, let's face it, even when you get a Zillow lead or a YouTube lead or an open house lead or any of these leads, you still got to call them and talk to them. It's
Yeah.
still going to be uncomfortable no matter how you slice it up. If you don't like to talk to people, you don't like to talk to people. So what's the difference in, a Zillow lead or a property owner, right? To me, it wasn't any difference. And if it's no difference, and I have to have a conversation anyway, then why not talk to the highest quality prospects, which to me were the property owners that own the property and want to sell. So I think that the one of the biggest reasons that agents are apprehensive about calling property owners because they don't have a good enough they haven't realized the incredible reasons to call property owners. Like, for example, one of my strategies, out of many different strategies, one of them I really love right now is like new construction. Okay, like new construction, you've got rate buy downs, closing costs taken care of, prices maybe be down a little bit in your area, maybe not. You've got they're putting appliances in, like the builders are doing all these things to get, and that this moment where they're doing that is not going to last.
Mhm.
It's going to be here and gone. And when it's gone, then you don't really have that opportunity anymore. But right now, you can literally call property owners around these new subdivisions and say, "Hey, I see you're here. Would you like a brand new home for like almost the same mortgage payment?"
Mhm.
Because and like when you realize that people can have nearly the same mortgage payment or sometimes even cheaper if they do this, you should be it should be so I mean they it should be to where people can't even hold you back from going to make these calls. Like
Yeah.
I'm just like I have to like run to the phone and tell people about this for their own good.
Yeah.
Um and here's the kicker, like when you call people, and so what I'm saying is when you call people with a great reason that brings them value versus just like, hey, you don't know me, I don't know you, but will you sell your house so I can make some money? That's what most agents sound like.
Right.
This is the first time we're talking, we don't know each other, but will you sell your house?
Yeah.
I'm an agent. Hey, I'm trying to make some money. Versus, hey, listen, I don't know if you guys are thinking about moving or worried about rates. I can get you in a brand new home for nearly the same rate you've got right now. If that's interesting to you, I'd love to show you this new house right around the corner and see what you think. To start the relationship, I believe that you should be the one bringing the value, not showing up saying, "What can you do for me?" But what can I do for you? Number one. Number two, once we get into these conversations, they may or may not be interested in the new construction home or whatever you're calling about. But at that point, it's on you to expand that conversation into that, okay, you don't want to do this, but what do you want to do? Right? Are you ever want to do something? And actually listen to them about what they might want to do and understand why they want to do it. And so what does that do? It opens up the whole realm of asking questions that most agents won't ask because they
Yeah.
feel like it's prying or it's private information or whatever the case may be. No, no, no. When you start asking those deeper questions around why somebody's trying to do what they're trying to do, it tells them that you actually care about them on a deeper level. And now they see you as more than just an agent, they see you as a professional.
Yeah.
and they you're just on a whole nother level. And most agents won't ask these questions, and so they just stay surface level. And at the end of the call, they don't even know what's going on. They don't know why somebody's trying to do it. The seller's like, "Call me back in 6 months. I'll sell them." So they're like, "All right, yeah, I'll call you back in 6 months." They hang up. It's like, wait a minute. What does he actually want to sell in 6 months, or is he just trying to tell you whatever he has to do to get you off the phone? And if
Right.
they do want to sell in 6 months, what's going on in their life in exactly 6 months that's got them thinking about selling at that point? Do they want to close in 6 months or start the process in 6 months? I mean, there's so many variables that I've got to know. There's more information I have to know as a professional to be able to help this person through whatever it is they're trying to do. And most agents won't ask those questions. So what I'm talking about are things that you can do within the first conversation, right? Bring them massive value. Number one. Number two, ask deep questions. Right? And then from there, we kind of get into a very organic flow of a natural conversation where now it feels like I'm just talking to my mom or dad, trying to help them buy or sell a property. And at the end of the day, if they don't want to do anything or not, it doesn't matter to me. That's the kicker. I don't care if they do business. I'm just trying to make a friend get their information. If they do want to do a deal, watch out because I'm gonna close them. Right. Don't get it twisted with that I'm just trying to make friends and move on. No, no, no. I'm closing deals with friends and I'm trying to understand what my friends want to do and why so that I can help them do it.
hmm No, I love that. And, I think when we think about reasons why people are apprehensive or may not start that home buying or selling process is, those mortgage rates, right? I mean, that comes up all the time. And if you can say to your client, like, hey, I can get you the same in a better house or a house that you might like,
Hmm.
more than what you're in now. I mean, wow, what a way to start off that conversation. And you're
Exactly.
already removing a barrier or something
So
or something that, your client might be holding them back.
that's the thing. Like a lot of them don't understand what's happening with new construction. And if they're interested in a new home, but
Yep.
mortgage rates are holding them back, well, here's the answer. And what's really cool if you think about it, if they own a home, that means that they have a lot of equity more than likely. Right? I mean, unless they just bought it in the
Yeah.
last year or two, if they bought it before the last year or two, then they've got some equity. And the further back they bought it, the more equity they got. And so if they sell their home
hmm
and take that chunk of equity and put down on the new construction, where they don't just put down 5% or
Yep.
10%, like they put down a nice chunk, because all they did was take the equity that was sitting in their home and then put it. And if they've been living there more than 2 years, they save on the capital gains. So they're not paying taxes on the gains. So
Yep.
then you take the equity and you put it in the new home. So now you've paid it down quite a bit and you have the rate buy down. I mean, you could potentially have a
Yep.
lower mortgage payment and then be in a new home. You probably got better insurance. You've got, lower maintenance. I mean, it's a new
Newer
home. So
stuff, as you mentioned. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you don't have any maintenance because it's a brand new home. You've got a builder warranty. Like the list goes on and on and on. Now, they may not be interested in a new construction home or thinking about moving. That's fine. See, we
hmm
got it. We got to get away from having a singular focus. Like I'm calling to
hmm
sell this property, or I'm calling to get their email, or I'm calling to see if they want to sell, or I'm calling us about this listing or that expired. I'm calling expired to try to relist the expired. No, no, no. The purpose needs to be to have a great reason to start a conversation, right? The reason, I mean, like, yeah, if they want to relist the expired or buy the new construction, like I said, I'm going to close them. But on the flip
hmm
side, if they don't want to do that, I'm going to take the converse now here we are. So now I want to this is where I start developing the relationship right here. So they're going to do a deal late. Here's the thing. They're going to do a deal, a lot of deals in their life. Don't I want to be their agent when they do those deals? And some of
Yes.
these agents and stuff, if people aren't interested right now to do something, they just like move on, throw them away, don't ever talk to them again, delete them out of their database. Um, Not me. I want every single person in my market, whether they want to buy or sell today or not, to know who I am, what I do, and I'm here to help. And again, I'm closing deals. Don't a lot of people misunderstand what I'm saying and pretend like I'm not talking about closing deals. Well, the fact that I, am not trying to close deals is exactly the reason why I close a lot of deals.
Yep. Yeah, so true. And just being intentional about it. You know what I mean? I think that's key too, and being genuine, asking those questions, making sure you're coming at it, from a good place, really wanting to get to know these people. These consumers are smarter than we think. I mean, they're going to be able to smell you out
Yep.
if you're not genuine, and they're going to be able to tell. So making
Yep.
sure you're bringing that genuinity and that, sense of you really care, I think that's going to go an extremely long way too. Because who doesn't want someone in their corner or a friend in their corner or someone that has your back when you're going through the most stressful process for
Hmm.
many people that they're ever going
Hmm.
to go through.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's our job as agents is to smooth that process out, to
Yeah.
where they don't really feel the brunt of the crazy things that happen in a deal. I
Mm-hmm.
think agents do make the mistake of telling their clients too much sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, your job is to make this, a smooth ride for them where they're not up worried about stuff at night.
Yeah.
And that's what's going
What
to
they
make
don't
them.
know won't hurt them, right?
Yeah, and like I'm not saying hide stuff from them, but I'm
Yeah.
saying there are things that they don't need to know about,
Yeah.
because if
Just
they
take care
do,
of
it's going
it.
to worry them, and it's not even needed. Like you got it, and you can handle that for them, not making decisions for them,
Right.
but like for example, like if the agent on the other side is giving you a lot of trouble, yeah, like just deal with it. You don't have to tell your seller that we got a cranky agent over there that
Mm-hmm.
is trying to blow the deal or something. It's not. But but yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm really excited about 2025. Especially for the agents that I've sat back and watched continue to build their business while the industry was slower, because you can
Mm-hmm.
just see it. Like it's already happening. You like I'm already like there. I've got a girl who, um, she was kind of like, I'm just struggling. We haven't put anything under contract in a month or two. I said, but look at what you're doing every day. You're
Mm-hmm.
making calls, you're building relationships. I said, it's going to happen. And real estate's a really slow moving business. It's a slow moving market. You can see things. It's easy to predict like 3 to 6 months out the housing market because it's so slow moving. Um, and now we had a call, and she said she had 5 pending deals, all in the last, couple weeks since the first of the year. I was like, this is what I was talking about. Like, you keep doing what you're doing, and now
Yeah.
she's on top of the world. You just got to keep plugging.
Yeah, be patient, do the things you need to do every day, focus on building those relationships, and it'll come if you put your mind to it, and have patience and do what you need to do. So I agree. I think 2025 is going to be a great year, especially with all the wonderful advice you've just shared with us. So I know our listeners will take something away from this, and I've jotted down some notes as we've had our chat. But I want to thank you, Ricky, so much for joining me on the show today. This has been fantastic, and I really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And to all of our listeners tuning in, thank you guys so much for joining. We'll be back with you next week.